So a lot of people told you that the Z6 III is a compromised camera. It's not just the right camera for the price. And all of those people are motivated. Why do I say that? Because I am using the Z6 III and I know what it can do for both for video and for photo. But today I'm going to talk more about photography. I think when people think of a very good entry to mid-tier camera with almost all kinds of features that you want from a camera like that. A lot of people are waiting for the Sony a7 IV, some are waiting for the Canon R6 III. Why? Because you think you don't have the perfect camera for $22,000 US. That's absolutely wrong. You have it, and you have it in the form of the Z6 III. There is no real difference between the dynamic range of the Z6 III or the A7 IV or the Z8 in the real world conditions, especially when you're shooting, you know what you're doing with your camera, and you've taken care of the lighting ratios. In real world situations, I haven't seen any difference in the file quality of a Z6 III. Also, it's a very well-known fact that starting ISO 800 of the Z6 III, I mean, it's the same as any other camera. The quality, the dynamic range in the Z6 III file, starting ISO 800 onwards, it's the same. Now, why that is significant? Because in most low light situations, if you're shooting weddings in the night, or if you're shooting guests or shooting an event, you're often shooting at ISO 1200 or ISO 1600 or even 3200 when you're shooting in a setting sun condition, shooting wildlife with a long lens, mostly f5.6 or f8 or x6.3. The sun is setting and you want to maintain a decent shutter speed of at least 1250 or even 1600 shutter speed. You may have to really push the ISO as high as 1500 or 3200. It doesn't matter how the files look at base ISO 100 for so many use cases. It only matters for portrait situations or tabletop photography situations. But in those situations, because you're controlling the light, most of the work is being done with lighting. It's not being done with the dynamic range or flexibility in post. The only one situation when the dynamic range can become a matter of conversation is in landscape photography. If you've taken care of the scene, that half a stop difference between another full frame camera and the Z6 III is not going to matter, because I know people who are shooting landscape photography with A9 III because they're in the Sony system and they thought, okay, I want to have one camera which gives me a lot of capability to do video and also to do photography. So if A9 III can be used for high dynamic range situations, definitely the Z6 III is far more capable, because I've done tests between the A9 III and the Z6 III, and let me tell you, the Z6 III has better performance in dynamic range than the A9 III. Are there differences in dynamic range between the Z5 II, the ZF and the Z8? Yes. The Z6 III is slightly behind in dynamic range. The conversation is not whether these other cameras are definitely better or not, whether there is a debate about that or not. There is no debate about that. The conversation is whether the dynamic range that you get with the Z6 III, whether that is enough for the work you do. And when I look at it from that perspective, I see absolutely no real problems shooting photos with the Z6 III. No color problem, no noise problem, no sort of flexibility problem in post. Therefore, the question is, if I have about $2,000 to buy a camera and I want my camera to be as well-rounded as possible, from photography, from speed, from autofocus, from low light performance to great video performance, whether in 4K to 1080. Remember, the Z6 III has the sharpest 1080 240. No one gives you as sharp 1080 240 as Nikon Z6 III. To 6K, to 6K 60, to 4K 120, from H.265 10-bit 420 to 12-bit RAW. Across, if you look at everything put together, then fantastic build quality, then a top screen like this, then the ergonomics that allows you to carry heavy lenses, to put a rig on this camera, the IBIS, that's very defined, that's very good. I don't know any other camera does so much for you. And so far, I haven't even mentioned the viewfinder. This has class-leading viewfinder by far. Everyone else will talk about the resolution of the viewfinder, which is very good, 5.69 or 79 million dots viewfinder. But no other brand is going to give you the wide color gamut viewfinder that Nikon is giving in the Z6 III. No one has even started talking about the optics, the quality of optics within the viewfinder that Nikon gives you in the Z6 III. No other brand has even started conversation on it. No other brand outside of Nikon is actually talking about why brightness is very important. So if you're shooting in broad daylight, tough conditions, when you really want your viewfinder to look as bright as the actual sunlight outside of the viewfinder, the Z6 III does that because it gives you 4,000 nits of brightness in this viewfinder. This viewfinder is unmatched by any camera in the market. By the way, there is no difference between the raw files that you get by shooting in mechanical shutter versus shooting in electronic shutter. Most other camera manufacturers will give you a compromised raw file when you're shooting with the electronic shutter, but not with the Z6 III. The Z6 III gives you identical files. The mechanical shutter just helps you a bit more when it comes to flash photography. So look at the Sony a7 IV. I have the Sony a7 IV with me there. It does 12-bit RAW if you have to shoot faster than 6 frames a second. This camera can do 20 frames a second, no loss in raw files. It's still 14-bit. So many ways the Z6 III is such a finished camera. If you were talking about sports photography and shooting, like really shooting for a long time and shooting an action scene, you want a very good buffer depth. So you actually have a CF Express card along with an SD card, and the CF Express card ensures that you can just keep shooting at 20 frames a second. You have very deep buffer on the Z6 III. What other camera gives you the practicality of deep buffer with enough shooting speed, fantastic and accurate autofocus performance, fantastic color? Because you really don't have to do much in post because the colors are so good on the Nikon Z6 III. So if you're really looking for a good photo camera and if you're going by it logically and professionally, the best photo camera right now for $2,000 to $2,500 US price range is the Z6 III. And I've given you all the reasons. You can watch this video 3 times and you will understand all the micro points I've mentioned. Especially in telephoto lenses, the kind of stabilization you're going to get on the Z6 III is crazy good. It's going to get a firmware update. You're going to get bird eye autofocus in a few months. Nikon supports its cameras so well. You recently saw the Z8 got firmware 3 and it's not better than Z9. So every which way you look at it, the Z6 III is unbeatable, and I think it's going to remain an unbeatable camera for at least another 3 years. The Z6 III is demanding more out of Canon, demanding more out of Sony, and I would say demanding more out of Panasonic, which is why they have repurposed the same sensor for the Panasonic Lumix S1 II, which is, by the way, looks like a very, very good camera. But yes, the autofocus is not as good. The photo ergonomics and workflow is not as good as any of the Nikon cameras. So there you have it. Subscribe to the channel, like this video. Please help me reach 10,000 subscribers, and let me know what more you want to hear, what you want me to talk about. You want to see something, you want some tests done, let me know, and I'll try and put them together. I'm going to see you soon, very soon, with another one.